it might just be possible that there are spiritual arsonists hiding in the body of Messiah. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 4 of the Torah portion, Mishpatim, meaning judgments. Let's go to a verse found in Shemot or Exodus chapter 23 that we might read right quickly by and not pay a lot of attention to. But it's talking about accountability, and those who have stolen have to be held accountable and repay for what they have taken. If one's livestock overgrazes their own fields and they are let loose in another man's fields, then the owner of the livestock has to pay what has been eaten. And then in verse 6, when fire breaks out and spreads to thorn bushes so that stacked grain or standing grain or the field is consumed, he who kindled the fire shall certainly repay. Well, obviously, if someone commits arson, they should be liable and held accountable. We've read and heard the news reports on the West Coast, especially of great fires that have broken out and taken days, weeks, or perhaps even as much as a month or more to bring finally under control before it has consumed many, many millions of acres of land. Then we find out, well, it was started by poor keeping of a campfire or a cigarette tossed outside a window, or even something even more mischievous than that or intentional than that, that someone intentionally set the fire all for the sake of some agenda or for the thrill of it, however they were so motivated. Those that have been held accountable have to repay or by some means be punished for their actions. I don't know what it is that would drive a person to want to seek destruction because they were careless or even intentional in setting a fire. Spiritually speaking, we may be witnessing more often than we realize spiritual fire setting. There is a text in the Torah that says that we are not to start fires on Shabbat, or kindle a flame on Shabbat. It's very scrupulous among some that you have at Sukkot a campfire burning before the sun goes down so that you're not breaking a tenet of the Torah. There are others that say, well, this is more about starting arguments, fiery debates on Shabbat. And indeed, that's an application as well. And that is that one would need to refrain from throwing a plotted bomb in the midst of a congregation just to get the reaction, just to see sides taken and people go at each other. If you know, for example, in your congregation that there are varying viewpoints held on a controversial subject, and you bring it up and then kind of sit back and watch and are entertained by such a thing, while those who would normally get along began to get heated and exchange hard debating lines with one another or even break into arguments. Are you not a spiritual arsonist? Have you not just started a fire? Are you gaining some kind of degree of entertainment by watching fellow believers go at one another unnecessarily? Is there not then a holding to account at some point that the hand of Yah will exact on us? This probably, in my personal experience, been seen more on social media, where someone would throw something out there knowing good and well that it's going to start an argument. And it's called trolling, perhaps. It's vicious. It's unrighteous. It's unnecessary, and it is most definitely unfruitful. Having a strong debate is sometimes a good way to learn if you're willing to listen. But debating just to prove that you're right and everyone else is wrong is unfruitful, and it never gets anyone anywhere. It only causes a divide. Have we not had enough years of hard words, accusations, slandering things said about those who disagree with us? Let's be honest. If we were to thoroughly and rightly understand our journey over the last number of years, for some of us it may go back as far as 10, 15 years or more. For some of us it may be just very recently. But even those that have most recently started, the journey is already producing some sense of change of thought, shift in perspective. The more information that we have about a given subject, the more we would have to ponder and challenge previously held beliefs. And it's not to undermine or destroy or break apart our foundation altogether. But sometimes the stones of our foundation are there. We just need to understand better what those stones are. We're not saying, throw the baby out with the bathwater, proverbially. It's better understood as, let's better understand what is truth so that we better understand how to build upon that truth and then build carefully. The goal is not to build a building of our lives as quickly and rapidly as possible, but as soundly and firmly and capable of standing test as possible. Yeshua talked about those that would build their homes on the sand and those on the rock. Even if you're building on the rock, it doesn't mean you can just slap it together. You have to build with truth. That understood, though, someone trying to set fire to my house while I'm trying to build it is not appreciated. Many of us would quickly imagine going to the book of Yaakov or James, chapter number 3, and indeed it's applicable here. It says, so too the tongue is a little member, yet boasts greatly. This is verse 5. See how a little fire kindles a great forest. The tongue is a fire, the world of unrighteousness. Among our members, the tongue is set, the one defiling the whole body, and setting on fire the will of life, and is set on fire by Gehenna. He makes no bones about it. This is if you want to talk about hellfire and damnation preaching, the reality is we throw things out there just to get a reaction out of people, and it's condemned in Scripture as being a fire you are kindling from the coals of hell. This is ungodly, unrighteous. And the book of 2 Kefa, or 2 Peter, chapter number 2, verse 1 says, but there also came to be false prophets among the people, as also among you there shall be false teachers, who shall secretly bring in destructive heresies, and deny the master who bought them, bringing swift destruction on themselves. And many shall follow their destructive ways, because of the way of truth shall be even spoken of. And in greed, with fabricated words, they use you for gain. The Torah here says that these such things as destructive heresies, erroneous teachings, controversies that are intentionally set on fire just to get a reaction, they go into the thorn bushes. Well, there are thorny things, thorny people who irritate you, and we sit by and, well, if they're burning, if they're all upset, what's the difference? They always are. Then it talks about the stacked grain. These are those that are harvested, those that are ready to be useful in the kingdom. They're consumed. And then there are those that are still growing, the standing grain, the grain that is still in the field and moving up. They get destroyed. So the mature and the growing into maturity, they're destroyed alike. And then the field itself, our congregations, our places of gathering, they get destroyed. We talked yesterday about watching words. Watch them words. Be careful what you say. More tomorrow. Till then, shalom.